Hi, I'm Michael Jabbara, and I lead Payment Ecosystem Risk and Control at Visa. And here with me today is Ami.
Hi, I'm Ami Patel, and I lead Ecosystem Engagement and Advocacy for Visa.
At Visa, our mission is to uplift everyone everywhere by being the best way to pay and be paid. And a core part of that mission is ensuring a secure payments ecosystem. We do that by investing in technologies that identify and mitigate fraud, but we also do that by implementing and executing programs that aim to identify and stop fraud before it even happens. The Visa Acquirer Monitoring Program is one such example, which we launched all the way back in the early 90s to make sure that consumers and businesses can transact both securely and seamlessly. Of course, a lot has changed since then. We've had e-commerce, we've had social commerce, digital transactions have become widely popular, and so we've needed to evolve that program to fit with the times that we are in now. And so here with me today is Ami to tell us exactly about that evolution.
Fast forward to today, Michael, there's real-time payments, there's AI, there's agentic commerce, and digital experiences that were just really unimaginable back then. And the pace of change has just accelerated to a point where incremental improvements and tweaking programs was just no longer going to be sufficient. We knew we had to rebuild from the ground up and restructure the programs from the 6 that we had built over the last 3 decades to consolidating it under one new roof.
So Ami, what are we trying to accomplish with this program?
Michael, that's a great question. We have 3 core intents with this new program. The first being, we want to transition from having a reactive approach to fraud to really making it much harder for the fraud to be committed in the first place. The second key thing we want to accomplish in the program is we want to reduce the operational burden for our clients. We're aiming to have them focus less time on the admin of running 6 programs, long workout periods, long remediation periods, to really focusing on the systemic issues and solving problems that are in the ecosystem today. And the third thing that we really want to achieve with this program is to have a safer, smoother, more streamlined cardholder experience. We want to prioritize the end consumer's friction and customer experience. Michael, the program is really about balance. We want to balance consumer experience, reducing the operational burden that we're placing on our clients, and making sure we have secure industry growth. And by doing so, we know that we're going to get higher authorizations, higher approval rates that are driven really by lower fraud and lower disputes in the ecosystem. VAMP is a testament to Visa's commitment to our clients and consumers. The process is more simple, it's more efficient, and it gives more flexibility to clients to maintain the business model and the risk appetite that they need to manage in this new day and age.
Well, that's great to hear. And I think one of the points that I find really interesting is when we talk about programs like VAMP, the conversation jumps directly into fraud dispute, how do I lower the ratio, really conversations around the what, but we don't really talk enough about like the so what. And what I find really impactful is when we look at acquirers who are in the program versus acquirers who are not in the program, there's a material difference in terms of the number of transactions that they have approved, 10%. And that really kind of, to me, goes to the heart of why we do this, because if we're able to incentivize decreasing fraud in disputes, that is increasing the number of sales that merchants are able to process, it's lowering their operational expenses related to chargebacks and customer disputes and all of that. And the end point is better customer relationships. But tactically, what does this mean for acquirers and merchants?
Michael, we created a new way to measure and manage performance. We monitor both at the acquirer and the merchant level. And there's 3 ways an acquirer can be identified. The first is at their overall acquirer portfolio thresholds. There's a second way in terms of the individual merchants within their portfolio if they exceed a certain threshold themselves. And the third is really around the enumeration activity at the merchant level. Now we've set a minimum of 1,500 fraud plus disputes, what we're calling a minimum VAMP count of 1,500, to ensure that we're focusing not on the normal business fluctuations, but certainly on the significant issues that are happening today in the ecosystem. Based on the feedback that we received from the industry, we are also including a more balanced aspect between the 2 components of what makes up the thresholds. And we created more balance by adding in what's called fraud disputes into the equation. And to accommodate for the additional volume coming in, we've made a few changes. One, we've raised that minimum count to 1,500. And we also have excluded certain aspects that help reduce the friction in the payment experience, like investments in pre-dispute tools, as well as compelling evidence 3.0, which helps with friendly fraud.
So based on the way that you've described the thresholds for the new VAMP program, it sounds like it's only going to impact a very small portion of Visa's clients, those who are experiencing significantly outlier behavior on the fraud and dispute side.
That's right. The majority of our clients won't be affected by the program at all. It truly is an outlier program in itself. That means an acquirer has to be performing 5, 7, 10 times the global average. Now there's 2 levels to the program in itself. So the acquirer can be identified at an above standard, which means they are at a significant higher level than the industry average. Remediation is required at that level. But there's even a more stringent level called the excessive level, and this means that the fraud and dispute activity has reached such a point that there is a more drastic remediation that needs to be addressed at that stage. Now, because the majority of our portfolio won't be impacted by the program, we're introducing an early warning mechanism for our clients. And this means if clients are approaching either of those 2 levels, the above standard, and they're getting near it, we'll just send them an early warning saying, hey, maybe you want to take a look at what's happening. You're coming near and approaching these thresholds, and we want to make sure that you address the issue before you even entered into the program in itself.
So Ami, for the small minority of clients who are going to be identified under the new program parameters, they must be experiencing a lot of change in a relatively short period of time. We had gone quite a long number of years without making any changes, and then all of a sudden we've completely revamped how we deal with outlier disputes and fraud in the ecosystem. What should they be thinking about? What should they be doing to be ready?
Look, we know this sounds like a lot of change. And change is hard, and we get that. Every step and every change that we've made has been with clients' input and industry input. We also took a data-led approach to the changes that we're introducing today. So as a next step, I'd really encourage our clients, merchants, the Visa ecosystem to first reach out on visa.com, because it's the first time we've been able to publish a public-facing fact sheet for our compliance programs, and it's a major achievement. I know I sound super excited because it is. It is something that the industry has been asking for, and we've been able to deliver on it. I'd also encourage merchants to reach out to their acquirers, Michael, because really it starts there. They should ask them what their VAMP ratio performance is. What implications do they have for their programs based on the acquirer's portfolio performance? And that is only a conversation they can have with their individual acquirer based on the contracts that they have with them. And then the third aspect I would encourage the community to is just really do a health check. This is the time. They have the advisory period all the way until September 30th before any enforcement begins, and only the excessive level will begin at that time. And between now and the end of September 30th is the right time to review and just do a health check, just optimize the risk controls that are there, and that should be sufficient to really start taking a look and proactively address things before any issues come up.
That sounds great. Well, Ami, thank you so much for joining me and illuminating us on what's going on with VAMP and its evolution. For all of our clients, for more information about VAMP, please visit visa.com. Thank you.